Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and this video is going to be a little bit different. This video is going to be more of an open letter to both Games Workshop and Creative Assembly. You see, just recently I posted a in-depth interview with Rich Aldridge, you know, one of the leads for Total War Warhammer DLC, and I asked regarding the potential of Old World mixing into Total War Warhammer, as we've kind of seen with Cafe and Kislev. Unfortunately, it does seem that that's just not going to happen, as it's a completely different IP, and they are intending to stay on 5th all the way to 8th edition, which, you know, fair enough, there's a lot of stuff there. However, you know, Kislev and Cafe weren't really in Warhammer Fantasy. Well, they were in lore. Kislev did have an army through War Master and some units, but this is a completely different Kislev. Cafe never really had a full army, barring a few units here and there. And it has been known and also acknowledged that, yes, they did collaborate when it came to the forming of Kislev and Cafe as we know them and play them in Total War Warhammer, and will hopefully play them in Warhammer the Old World, possibly when I die of old age. The fact that they're not going to be taking from anything else, because it's a different IP, is kind of worrying. The Old World is still Warhammer Fantasy. If Games Workshop see these as two different IPs, then I wonder who the hell is writing the Old World books that they've forgotten that Magnus the Pious was a playable character in 4th edition, you know? Like, yes, that timeline was kind of explored a little bit. We've also had multiple Warhammer the Old World style games based on the Warhammer Fantasy IP, you know? Chaos Bane, Mark of Chaos, those were set around the Old World timeline, and yeah, so why a different IP now? It's still Warhammer Fantasy, right? Unless Games Workshop are just doing this to bleed people dry, which, hey, I wouldn't put it past them. This is very important to discuss, because this could affect future DLC content for Total War Warhammer, and it could affect the future of Warhammer the Old World. Cross-promotion between platforms is a very powerful tool that has been used by many companies over the years. It's not just gaming companies, but literally everyone else. Games Workshop haven't really learnt about cross-promotion too well, because I'm going to be completely honest with you, if they did give a shit about their IP when it came to video games and the power that cross-promotion actually brings with it, a lot of games which have produced absolute garbage video games based on their IPs would not have gotten the license and would not have produced those monstrosities. Let's just put it that way. Yet every now and then, regarding a Warhammer-based video game, we've received a diamond. Dawn of War 1, Space Marine, Total War Warhammer. Total War Warhammer did something that couldn't have been imagined years ago. It brought back interest in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. So much so that this is a AAA title. It sold millions of copies. It still has loads of daily players, even in a drought that we're currently on. And it proved that Games Workshop handled the whole end time situation rather badly, which I imagine they must still be seething about. Let's make it very clear here, I'm not insulting Age of Sigmar. I actually kind of like the system. It's more of the case of incompetence, right? But it brought back a dead setting, and years later, despite the constant screaming of the fan base that they wanted to play Warhammer Fantasy Tabletop, and they couldn't because, well, you know, end times, we got the announcement of the return of Warhammer Fantasy in the form of Warhammer the Old World. Something that isn't still out yet, considering that they announced it in 2019, for other reasons, which we're going to talk in a future video, by the way. But, yeah, you know, it's coming. They're starting to show miniatures. Very slowly, but they're starting. There is more interest now in Warhammer Fantasy than there's ever been. People are foaming at the mouth for DLC from Total War Warhammer, and people want to play Warhammer the Old World. I've been working on my armies constantly, and I just honestly can't wait. Praying to the dice gods that at least, hopefully, the edition is decent. But finding out recently that there's not going to be any more bleed over means no cross-promotion, which is horrendously stupid. I think that cross-promotion works both ways. You'll be able to get a lot more people interested into the tabletop stuff if they can see the really cool stuff, doing cool stuff in-game, because that's what's going to make people want to buy those miniatures. Maybe not necessarily to buy a full army, but what they can do is buy a model here and there, because, oh my god, I love seeing that terracotta warrior. I want to paint one up. Zhao Ming, the Kislev Bears, considering there's been so much promotion about bears during the launch of Warhammer 3, it's probably engraved into your brains. Total War Warhammer needs Old World like Old World needs Total War Warhammer. It's that simple, for a number of reasons. Let's start off with the Total War needing Old World. We are getting near the end in terms of missing units for a lot of factions. The fact is, a lot of the army books are almost done. Yeah, sure, we do have a bunch of supplements and so on, but even then, it's going to be harder and harder to be able to get any really cool stuff or stuff that's actually missing that just doesn't exist. This is why we ended up getting some bleed over with Cafe and Kislev, something which has been shown to be collaborations. It's been mentioned in multiple articles. If it was going to happen in one, it was going to happen in the other, and this is why we've also gotten other units, like for example the Tzeentchian Doom Knights, which weren't a tabletop unit, and I'm really hoping they are for the Warriors of Chaos, mostly because they would be absolutely disgusting, and I kind of like disgusting units. Why would they create something very new? By the way, Games Workshop mentioned the Doom Knights in their own article, going, oh, completely new unit we've never seen before. So it's like, yeah, they're going to be in the tabletop. We're also wanting to see the hope of other races and factions, right? It's stuff that many of us want to see. We want to see this game getting supported for many, many years, like they've said. But I'm starting to believe that that 3 to 4 year mark that they said that they currently have plans for is likely the only stuff they have planned for Total War Warhammer, and then they'll move on to something else. Now, don't get me wrong, that could be fine, because obviously a lot of people have been hearing those rumors about Total War Warhammer 40k, and something like that would be extremely hyped, don't get me wrong, but you could easily support 2 Warhammer games at the same time. You just need one DLC team and then another one working on the main title, right? I mean, Creative Assembly have a lot of teams right now. It's not just this one and the Pharaoh team. We know that there's multiple teams working on other projects. So, you know, clearly they're getting a lot of money. I know Warhammer 40k will give them a lot more cash, but the fact is, there's a lot of potential here. You could keep the game running for many, many years, like was stated in an interview, or, well, I think that was more of a press release. Either way, it was stated that many years. 3 to 4 is more a few, not really many years. And, yeah, just keep the cash flow coming, because Warhammer fans will continue to buy it. When it comes to Games Workshop and Warhammer the Old World, well, Warhammer 3 has been a big marketing tool. If Warhammer Fantasy was still around, you would have made a lot of money, GW. I know some of you listen to these videos. Yeah, you would have made a stupid amount of money, and that's the only reason why Warhammer the Old World was announced. A bit too early and a bit too late, to be honest. Warhammer the Old World should have been pretty much released by the time that Warhammer 3 released, because that would have been the ultimate bleed crossover. And future content with future DLCs showcasing new units, not necessarily characters unless they're quite old, considering the time gap between. But, yeah, new units, they would have easily been there, they would have easily been in the future too, and that would have been an easy way to make some sales. It's too late now for Cafe and Kislev. Yes, they'll be released in the future with their models, but you're not going to get as many sales as you would have if it would have been released at the same time as Warhammer 3. But you never know in the future. If Warhammer 3 remains active and you bring in the Dogs of War and Warhammer 3 gets in the Dogs of War, or, you know, just separating the Southern Realms into their own mini race packs, Koresh, Nippon, Ind, factions that people have been demanding and practically begging for in Warhammer 3, well, you know, again, cross-promotion. Once again, if you see the really cool monsters doing really cool shit, they're going to want to buy it just to have the model there. Doesn't mean that all of them are going to turn into Warhammer tabletop fans, but it will generate a few more sales here and there. You could potentially get a lot more people in there. Cross-promotion. Funny thing is, it's recently been done with Space Marine 1, which is a bit too late. And I think it's only accessible through Walmart or something, which is stupid. But Space Marine 2 will be the ultimate way to cross-promote, obviously, Warhammer 40k tabletop, right? Considering that, yes, Space Marine, Ultramarines, fighting Tyranids. I mean, it's very obvious why the 10th edition box is kind of lining up with that, right? They're learning. It's taken a while, 40 years to be in fact, but it's finally happening. They did try that way back in the days of Dawn of War, where they started bringing in some of the Blood Ravens in, but they were Forge World, and the grand majority of people, even the grand majority of tabletop players, weren't going to buy that garbage. Who's going to want that resin stuff, right? I mean, we're going to have to buy them for Old World. There's going to be a lot of resin models, that's for sure, but yeah, no. Another thing to note for Games Workshop's point is that, well, the marketing for Old World has been horrendously bad. They've been drip-feeding really badly, and yes, it's likely going to start getting a little bit more common, and a lot more posting is going to happen when they eventually start getting closer to launch after the release of Epic, or whatever the hell they're calling it now. But they've clearly lost on a lot of strength without releasing at the same time as Warhammer 3. They should look to this as, well, maybe if the IP continues, maybe if the Old World IP is actually Warhammer Fantasy IP, or granting exceptions, right? An exception can happen. It's not out of the question. They own the IP. They can literally say, yeah, take from this. There's nothing really stopping them from allowing that to happen. So Old World does need to help with the cross-promotion in the most honest way possible. I believe that Total War Warhammer does not need Old World as much as Old World needs Total War Warhammer. They want this to be a success. They need it to have eyes on it constantly. And no, releasing a book and causing trouble, like, for example, what's happened with 10th edition with the Eldar, that's not going to be positive. Everything needs to be released as balanced as possible to make sure that it launches well, or else people are going to lose interest, especially since you're going to have to pay like £40 plus for a freaking BSB. Gotta love that resin posting. Hey, yeah, smart move. Again, cross-promotion. I can't repeat this enough. Because it doesn't matter if we don't get Ind, Koresh, and stuff like that. Like, officially, modders will do it. We already even know that modders can extend the map and so on. So, yeah, they'll do it. And we'll have DLC quality mods, as we've been getting pretty much constantly through other mods, right? But it's very obvious that I love Warhammer Fantasy. I very much love Total War Warhammer, and I want Old World to succeed. My worry is Old World here. I think it's going to suffer a lot if it doesn't have something like a AAA title like this protecting it, giving it a little bit more of a boost, making it more well known. Warhammer 3, if it ends in 3 to 4 years, would be a massive disappointment, but we'd have a lot of content by then to keep us going. By then, modders would have hopefully figured out custom voice lines. You never know. I don't know if modders are still trying to do that because it's just so encrypted. But we're still getting loads of content. Whether CA give it to us or a modder or a team of modders, very talented modders, do it themselves. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a discussion. Let's make sure that this stuff is, you know, kept in public eye. Let's keep talking about it, right? Not necessarily through my video, but we need people to talk about this and hope that Games Workshop and Creative Assembly kind of see this and see it our way, right? It's important, I'd say. But anyways, this video should be going live on the Friday. I do apologize if it's a bit late or something. I'm scheduling it because by the time that this video goes live, I should be flying to France for TwitchCon. I'm not 100% too sure. It's one of these things where you just never know with YouTube. So yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. I'll hopefully be streaming, by the way, some Realms of Ruin and some Total War Warhammer whilst at TwitchCon. But I don't know 100% just yet. Still need to wait for some details. And yeah, you never know. See you guys.